Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 18 on DraftKings. We have a Saturday slate on this one, a 2-game slate. You guys know how much I love 2-game slates. Not at all. But we have one, so I'm going to talk about it. We're going to build a first look lineup for NFL DFS this week. There are 2 games. One of them projected to be somewhat high scoring. The other one very competitive and compelling because the AFC South Championship is up for grabs in that one, but the total is kind of poop at 38.5. There are some interesting players on this slate for us to look at. Obviously, we have Mahomes and Kelsey, and it is hard to build a lineup involving Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, but that's just what I'm going to try and do just to see if I can do it for the exercise on this video. So it's going to be a lot easier and free things up if you don't use them. We're going to try and get there with a Mahomes Kelsey stack. So drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Smiz Gang Listener League is posted for this week. It is 3,000 entries. It is $10, and it cannot be found in the DraftKings lobby. You have to go to smizzle.tv/links if you wanted to get into the best tournament on DraftKings because it is absolutely no rake. I will shout out the top 10 finishers on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel on the recap video for Week 18 that comes out next Monday. Here's the Week 17 recap, the Week 16 recap, Week 15 recap, Week 14 recap. Tons of videos planned for this offseason, so don't miss a thing. Go sub to Al Smizzle Fantasy Football through the link tree at smizzle.tv/links at the same time that you join the Listener League for this week. So good luck to you guys in that Sunday Listener League. It's going to be the final one of the year. So let's make sure that we fill it as a thank you to DraftKings for giving us another full year of rake-free contests for you guys to go after and get all the value that you can. Thank you for being members of the Smiz Gang all year long. Here's the slate. It ugly. Kansas City Chiefs traveled to Las Vegas to go play at the Roomba. They're favored by 9.5 points. Total is 50.5 in that one, which means they have a implied team total of 29.5 or 30 points. So we're going to try and focus on Kansas City as much as we can in this one. And obviously, that Las Vegas offense really did not struggle with Jarrett Stidham at the helm last week. And look, if you wanted to play into Stidham, it's a lot easier way to get access to the Las Vegas players, the Kansas City players by going with like a Las Vegas stack, and you could save a little bit of money and juice up maybe somewhere else and possibly get Devontae Adams into that lineup if you so chose and bring it back with Kelsey, which would be very powerful. It's not the route that I chose. It may end up being like the optimal based on what he did last week against San Francisco, a very tough defense, but it could be kind of a trap spot in this one as Kansas City has amplified opposing quarterbacks, but like seems too easy. Feels easy. On the other side, we have Jacksonville against Tennessee. The Titans are favored by 6.5 in this game. Total is 38.5. We saw what happened last week where Trevor Lawrence really didn't have to throw the football. He's been very, very good. The maturation of Trevor Lawrence as this young man comes of age as a quarterback in the NFL, leading this team to possibly the playoffs this game, definitely for the AFC South Championship. The winner gets it. Tennessee is out of the playoffs if they lose this one. As I said, almost a touchdown dog here. 6,100 for him. And the rocket scientist, Joshua Dobbs, is going to be starting. He looked competent against Dallas. Dallas, a much tougher defense than Jacksonville is on the season. He did fumble 2 times. He did throw an interception. He's not going to be super efficient. Only completed 51% of his passes. He looked an awful lot for Treylon Burks, who I believe got 8 targets last week on the 39 times they threw the ball. However, that was a game where Derrick Henry was out. So, maybe things are going to change with the way that they attack this week with Jacksonville. They're clearly going to try to establish it. As long as they can keep this in a neutral game situation, I would expect Henry to get his 30 plus opportunities in this one because that's their best bet to win, because who else are you going to give the ball to, right? But we're just playing Patrick Mahomes. He's great. 27.8 DraftKings points per game on the season against Denver, a very tough defense. Still threw for 328 and 3 touchdowns last week, 29 fantasy points. He has the highest quarterback ceiling on the slate and the highest quarterback median to ceiling projection on the slate. His 70th percentile is higher than most of these other 3 quarterbacks' 90th percentile score. So he is the best bet at quarterback, probably going to be one of the most popular quarterbacks unless people run through Stidham to get access to Mahomes' targets, which allows you to get more money into your lineup. I also said that I'm just going to play Travis Kelsey because you know what? I just want to play Travis Kelsey because he's the separator. You can find other wide receivers who are going to get you 30 points, unless Devontae Adams has like a 45-point day plus, unless Derrick Henry has a 45-point day plus. Travis Kelce will separate from the other tight ends on this slate more than the running back or wide receiver will likely separate. But if you're building a lot of lineups through like a mini max or a dime tournament, clearly you're going to have a lot more. But in a single lineup situation, I think that this is how we go. And because it's 2 games and because of how DraftKings has the pricing set, I do think that 2 tight end is viable. Now, stacking is what it is. It's 2-game slate. You're going to play a defense against players that you play. So like, I needed a cheap defense. I'm going with the Raiders. At the very least, we get Kansas City dropping back a lot. It is what it is. The defensive pricing is Raiders super cheap. Then these guys kind of bunched 400 and 200 apart. Jaguars most expensive because they square off against Tennessee and at home. The Chiefs at 3,200 against Stidham. Titans at 2,800. Obviously, in my opinion, the Jaguars are the best defense to use, but they're also the most expensive. You're going to have to use one of the cheaper quarterbacks if you want to get there. I already said that Mahomes Kelce makes this extremely restrictive on me. So let's get to running back and see where we go. Look, I like Derrick Henry a lot. I want to play Derrick Henry on this slate. I don't think that you can optimally play Derrick Henry. Or let's say you can play Derrick Henry in this lineup with Kelce and Mahomes, but you would have to punt off one more spot because the salaries just won't add up. So instead of going with Henry, I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs because he just gets so much volume. Like, the Raiders aren't expected to score 0 points in this game. Like, they're still expecting 20 plus points. The offense still runs through basically those 2 guys, Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, who both of whom have done very, very well in games this year where they have won or games where they have lost. 19.5 points on 22 opportunities against one of the toughest defenses in the league that we usually want to fade playing running backs against. This is a good spot for him. Possibility for like 7-8 catches in this one at the running back position. It's not the most likely scenario, right? Because obviously they got Waller back, they got Renfro back. They are a mostly fully operational battle station at this point are the Raiders, but they're still the Raiders, and they do center around getting the ball to Josh Jacobs. Also, touchdown regression be damned. We have to find somewhere to go. I could not quite afford with this lineup to get all the way up to Travis Etienne. I don't like any other running backs on the slate. So McKinnon, there is a volume issue here, right? I'm not ignoring that. 8 opportunities the last 2 games. He will not keep scoring 1.5 touchdowns a game on 8 opportunities. It's just not possible. You're not going to do that. He's 6,300, but he fits on this slate, and there is the possibility that he does score a touchdown, although he just will not continue unless he's going to get this sort of usage. 18 opportunities, 15 opportunities. Touchdowns can flow out of that a lot easier than 8 opportunities. This is like that stretch where Nyheim Hines was outscoring Jonathan Taylor at the beginning of last year, and people were like, the 2021 season, and people were saying, oh yeah, well, maybe Nyheim Hines is the play. No, it was still Jonathan Taylor that year, because regression does catch up to you, although not always immediately. So Jerick McKinnon gives me that correlation in the passing game with Mahomes, with Kelce, 2 major touchdown scorers with Mahomes, although Mahomes does definitely spread the ball out. Devontae Adams can't fit in this lineup, but I love the play, especially if you're going to go through Stidham. You can get there with different ways of doing it, or if you're not playing Kelce, it is extremely easy to get to that spot playing through receivers. If Kelce does not have a touchdown in the games that he doesn't, right, and he doesn't have one all the time, as you can see by his box scores, and looking at Patrick Mahomes' box scores, he does throw multiple touchdowns most times. They're just going to other people. So getting in on those wide receivers, whoever they might be, whether it's Juju or MVS or Tony or anybody else, gives you access to that at a lower percentage and getting different at the tight end position. So at wide receiver, I got to find value. I'm not going to be able to afford the 3 highest priced guys, Adams, Christian Kirk, who coming off of a 3-target game because they just didn't have to throw it against Houston, because nobody has to throw it against Houston because Houston just allows 1 million rushing yards per game. And Juju Smith-Schuster at 5,400 coming off of 7 targets in 2 games after the early season run of us being able to realistically expect 8 targets week in, week out. I think he kind of bounces as the playoffs get here, whether it's this week or whether it's when the playoffs start. If they win Kansas City, they basically will get the bye week at this point. So if they don't play for a couple of weeks, expect Juju Smith-Schuster's salary possibly to be a little bit on the low side, and we can take advantage of that in the second week of the playoffs. But Zay Jones, good bounce back spot for him, as I expect them to throw the ball a little bit more against Tennessee's Tennessee, their pass funnel type of defense. You don't really run the ball effectively against Tennessee. They're very tough. They're big up front. Their front four is massive and very strong. So allowing teams to throw the ball is essentially where they're at. They don't have very good cornerback play this year, and that's where they've been abused constantly. And I would assume that Jacksonville is going to try and take advantage of that. And Zay Jones has had a tremendous run in on the season, especially from weeks 10 through 15, as you can see on the box scores here. I'm not even looking at the totals. This is what's most important to me. 8 targets, 12 targets, 7 targets, 14 targets, 10 targets. They did not have to throw the ball against the New York Jets, where they won 19-3. They did not have to throw the ball against Houston, where they won 31-3. Now they're going to square off against Tennessee, a team that forces you to throw the ball, encourages you to throw the ball, and Zay Jones should see a return to 7+ targets this week at only $5K. And we know that he definitely has touchdown upside as well. I need a super value at wide receiver. A lot of them stink. Hunter Renfrow has gotten some targets, 14 over the last 3 games since returning. He had one good game and a couple of kind of meh games. This one where they should be playing in positive passing game scripts, and Hunter Renfrow does a very good job of getting open in short to intermediate ranges, where Stidham should want to operate a whole lot more. Now, if they can just let Devontae Adams get loose deep downfield like he did last week, sure. But Hunter Renfrow at 3,800, if he misses, he doesn't miss all that much, right? If he has 5 fantasy points and he needed to get you like 11, you're not missing by all that much, and you want to get access to as many ceiling plays as you possibly can get. And at 4,200, I mentioned how last week in the first game with Dobbs under center, Treylon Burks did get 8 targets in that game and a rushing attempt, something that they've given him for 2 straight games. Trying to get the ball into the hands of this young man is going to be extremely, extremely important this week against Jacksonville, as everybody crowds the box against Derrick Henry to try and stop him as best they possibly can. Treylon Burks should find some one-on-one situations outside, and if he gets loose at 4,200, he can pay it off in just 1 target, leaving us with 4,800 to go. I ain't playing hasty at that, but Evan Engram, aside from this one game, he's averaging 11 points on the season. Yes, I agree with that. But looking at this 4-week stretch right before it, from week 13 through week 16, he was averaging more points per game during that 4-week stretch than Travis Kelce is averaging on the entire season. So basically, you definitely have tight end 1 upside, and I like his numbers way better than any of the other flex plays in this range. If you wanted to argue for Mac Hollins, like, fine, but I'm not going to go with 2 fringe wide receivers on one team when I could nail 1 alpha guy that they have even in a low volume passing offense and 2 alphas on the other team. They're not really alphas, but like everybody gets spread out on Jacksonville. The targets just go to whoever's open, and we've loved the way that they have utilized Evan Engram all season long. He gets targeted like a wide receiver, which is something that we cannot even say for the wide receivers at that price range on this Saturday slate. It's a short slate. You can get as creative as you want to. Don't worry about playing 2 running backs from the same game. Don't worry about playing players against their own defense. It's a 2-game slate. You kind of have to hit some of those situations and make the best of it as you can. So I wish you all the best of luck. Make sure you join the Listener League. Look out for the recap video on that fantasy football channel, and look out for another video right here.
He's a legend.